Hi and welcome to this week's GMBN Tech Show. Now coming up on the show this week there's loads of cool stuff in news that's actually going to be hosted by Martin Ashton this week. We're going to be talking a little bit about road brands coming into mountain biking, and there's some great stuff for you guys, including some awesome top mods and some brilliant rewind stuff. Okay, so let's jump into this week's topic, and well really it's about road brands coming into cycling. Now it's out there now that Rapha are coming across to the mountain bike world with a range of technical clothing. Now Martin's going to be going into that in the news, and there's some really cool features, including some of the stuff they include patches so you can repair the stuff. Now I think this is cool, and they're kind of launching the brand really well using Bryn Atkinson, Jill Kittner and a bunch of other really cool riders. But it is pretty interesting that in the road world, Rapha is almost ridiculously priced. It's super high end. And because of that, it's got a bit of a feeling about it. There's a certain type of rider that will aspire to have it. But in the mountain bike world, it sits right in. It actually sits in really well with Troy Lee Designs, Patagonia, a lot of that sort of high-end sort of feeling clothing out there, price-wise. It looks pretty cool out there. But it made me think about other brands that have come across. So in recent times, Rich over on GMBN, he made a video about the Villiers bike, the Erta, I think it's called the Erta SL. Beautiful looking bike, and clearly taking a lot of notes from their road frames and their road technology, bringing it across into cross country. And I know he really enjoyed riding that bike. Now you've only got to look so far if you look towards a lot of brands like Canyon or Bayer and that make both road and mountain bike brands. You can see how they share some of that technology. In more recent times you've seen Santa Cruz, a mountain bike brand, going towards that sort of cross country tech. But the road brands coming across, you know, it's happened before. We've had Bianchi, we've had Look, we've had Time. But actually I think there's some relevant things here, because road technology is all about marginal gains. Yeah, and I know that we do kind of scoff a bit at road tech, you know, they've only just discovered disc brakes, bless them, and all that stuff. But if you look at what they're doing with their bikes, they're really quite tech, and they're really beautiful things. So it's kind of interesting to see them bringing this across into cross country. But I wonder what would happen if they started developing, you know, some of those brands looking at developing bigger travel bikes. Could be quite interesting, I think. What do we think about road brands coming into the world of mountain biking? Is it a phase? Are they going to stick just with the cross-country realms, you think? Or do you think they might sort of branch into other areas? Obviously, I'm referring to the brands that are more road biased, not brands that make both, like the Allbayers and the Canyons, and Specialized even to a degree, and stuff like that. Just purely from a tech point of view, just kind of interested. But the Rapha stuff could be a divider, that. Well, see what Martin thinks in news coming up.
Welcome to this week's tech news. Let's get straight into it. The biggest tech news of the week, quite literally, is the monster new Transition Spire. This is a new bike from Transition for 2021, and it is big, like 170mm of travel and 29-inch wheels front and rear big. Transition have set out to make a pedalable downhill bike with the Spire, and there are a few noteworthy comparisons between the two. First off, the BB of the Spire is pretty low, so like you would expect on a downhill bike, it receives 165mm cranks from stock, like many new bikes, and similar to last week's release of the new Patrol, the Spire is compatible with 650B rear wheel when you run the flip chip in high mode. But what happens when you run it in low mode? Well, the head angle drops to 62.5 degrees, which may well be the slackest of any mainstream trail bike out there right now. Yes, there are comparisons between this and a downhill bike, but when it also has a 1.5-inch straight head tube, you could bash a dual crown fork in there and make it one, or at least have a great time riding a bike park on it. The rest of the geometry numbers are long, low and slack, as you would expect from a modern bike like this, combining long reach numbers with a steep 78.1 degree seat tube angle and chainstay length proportional to the frame size. Some other nice little features on the Spire include the SRAM universal derailleur hanger, threaded BB and an accessory mount on the underside of the top tube, allowing you to attach spares and repairs for a long day out. We're seeing more of them on lots of bikes now, which is such a nice touch from manufacturers really thinking about the kind of riding people are going to be doing on bikes like this. The Spire is available in both carbon and alloy frames and will be available from summer. Right, it's been a long time coming with loads of teases from various athletes like Ella Connolly, Bryn Atkinson and Jill Kintner, but Rapha have finally stepped into the mountain bike world. The iconic Road brand have released a series of smart-looking trail clothing in their Performance MTB line, featuring 3/4 length sleeve jerseys, some bibs which are sure to be very comfy, shorts and women's lines of tank tops too. They've also gone for short sleeve technical tees and packable jackets too, which aren't quite waterproof but are intended to keep you warm on the bike when it's super windy. The coolest thing about the jackets though is that they pack down into the chest pocket, and as you fold it away you're left with a strap which you can then use to attach the jacket to your frame. Very cool touch. When you compare it to Rapha's Roadwear, the styling is pretty similar, with all of the tops featuring the recognisable armband as well. GT Factory Racing have been spotted at the Schladming IXS Not a Race test session on what looks to be the new bike. Info is pretty thin on the ground right now, but rumour has it that this could be the Force, their enduro bike. If that rumour is true, then at least we can confirm that it's rated for dual crown use like a few of the other heavier hitting long travel frames out there. Again, details are thin on the ground, but we will try to catch up with GT Factory team when we head out to Italy in a few weeks time for the first round and second round of this year's Enduro World Series. How exciting is that? Can't wait for that series to get going. Okay, there you go. There's the tech news from me this week. Doddy will be back next week. You'll be in safe hands, but I hope that wasn't too painful. I enjoyed being here. Thanks for having me on Tech. Right, let's get on with the show.
Thanks, Martin, for taking news for me there. Some good stuff in there. Okay, so into comments. Now, some interesting stuff from last week. The first one cracks me up. This is from A to B, quoting me directly. Any company that's been making bikes that amount of time has got to be good. And A to B wrote, Huffy started making bikes in 1892. Yeah, fair enough. Case in point. I think what I meant to say is they've been making good bikes for a long time. So another one's going to be good. But yeah, all right. Fair dues. Next up's from 60 and 6. Those spin wheels. I had a set for new, worn through the brake surface on them, couldn't get repaired because the company went out of business. Gutted. Kind of forget that in older wheels, actually you're braking on the structural part of the wheel. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? When anyone's fighting for the case of rim brakes, just think about that. You're wearing down the structural part of the wheel. Mental, isn't it? Crazy. Anyhow, the outrage of the rim that mates with the tyre actually peeled off the front rim about a third of the diameter after an unintentional hard rock strike on a fast far road descent. Sad day, they were the best 26-inch wheels I've ever ridden. They certainly had a big following, didn't they? Because there was Spin, the Spinergy, Tri-Spoke, there was a few sort of wheels. I think even Spengle made some wheels back in that era when it was kind of cool to run obscure looking wheels. But let's not forget, all kind of stemmed from the disc drive. What a wheel that was. Connor Campbell, same. I'm still running a 2005 Marzocchi Bomber MX Pro ETA 134 on my 2005 Kona Hoss hardtail, and it's great. Yeah, there was definitely an era of Marzocchi products. It was just like bomb-proof. Buy them, put them on, just run them until everything else in your bike dies, and the fork's probably still going to be all right after a small nuclear explosion. Awesome stuff. Next up from Richard Steele Gray. GMBN's been lacking on the cross-country front. For me, it's the most exciting racing and loads of focus on weight and tech. Yeah, I think it's been a bit difficult to get the cross-country focused sort of content out there actually for the GMBN crew. I know that Rich loves doing that stuff, and to be fair, Neil actually rides cross country a lot and he's really flipping good at it, so kind of surprised we haven't done more in the past, but I know that they have been looking for a cross country biased presenter, but you wouldn't believe how hard it is for us to get presenters with all of the elements you need. You know, you need to have the presenting skills, or at least be able to develop as a presenter. You need to be able to write and script heavily. You need to fit in with the team, which of course is a huge factor. If you don't have like on-screen chemistry with someone, it's just nearly impossible to make that stuff work. It's really difficult, but we're still looking for cross-country riders. We're still looking for female presenters. We're still looking for tech presenters for Tech Channel as well. We have positions open for a senior and for a more junior role as well, because we just need someone here to come and help grow things. But yeah, there you go. Cross-country front though, yeah, I think it's cool, and I agree with you on the fact it's the most exciting form of racing right now. you know, you look at things like EWS, it's phenomenal really. It's kind of like the pinnacle of what you can actually do with the bikes, and to a degree I think it's more advanced than downhill. Don't cut me down for that too much. What I mean is the style and the length of tracks and trails they're riding on lesser bikes, arguably a higher pace. It's insane what those guys and girls are doing on the bikes today. It's super interesting and fun to watch, but for me, you can't beat what cross country offers when you're seeing people literally going as hard as they can against each other. It's so exciting to watch. Yeah, totally with you there, Richard. Chris Bergisio, I went to cross country. I want to like cross country, but it's difficult because so many XC riders on my local trail are huge egocentric a-holes. They act like they own the trail and nobody's allowed on it because their time lap is more important than your enjoyment. I'm hoping the entire XC community isn't like that, but my current exposure isn't positive. Do you know, I think you're not alone in thinking that, but I actually think that with a lot of people that ride enduro. Funnily enough, the exact same thing. I was out, this quite a while back, out for a ride on my cross-country bike, riding up a trail that most locals go down. I actually do it both. I do like an out and back loop. Riding at the sort of that time of day that I know that you don't really see people around in this section of wood. And some guy came through the woods, belting through the woods, goggles on, clearly on a Strava run. Didn't even give me the time of day, like just belted past. I literally had to duck off the trail at the last minute, and it's like, mate, this was a bit of a cheeky trail. You shouldn't be riding at that pace on there. And I know there's a lot of people out there, Strava souls, yeah, certain breed of rider, rather than the enduro, the cross country, the downhill. I think if you're that type of person that really wants to get a lap time in, it's like, you fit into that category, unfortunately. But don't muddy cross country with it, because you know, there's people in all categories that do this. Yeah, well, Charlie 9. Is Ned Overend the best name in mountain biking? Anyone got a better name? Whoa, there's a good topic. What's the best rider name in mountain biking? I think I can win this one, definitely. Randy Spangler. Beat that. Yeah, Randy Spangler was part of the Superheroes crew. He rode with, I actually forget the name of the other riders, but early free riders. They're riding on Santa Cruz Super 8s with monster tees, jumping off like massive buildings and stuff. Super early inspirational stuff. Looking a little bit like the sort of stuff you see in snowboarding and motocross, like big hip jumps, stuff out in the desert. Anyone else remember the Superheroes crew? I feel like Gareth Dyer might have been one of them, but Randy Spangler, what a name. Beat that, come on. Get your best mountain biker names in down there. Let's see what you can give us. Rich M. So the post, I think you're referring to the Fox post here, is just like the original gravity dropper. Oh, yep, not far off actually. The gravity dropper is pretty much a girder with holes in it and a pin system, and you push a button and the pin would go through the hole and you put the post up and down. Very mechanical. I mean, that made it work great because it was so mechanical, but it certainly looked quite mechanical. And yeah, nice little dig to the ribs there. I think I agree with you. Okay, quiz time now. 3 quiz questions are going to flash up on the screen and you're going to try and answer them. So the first one, name 3 major brands. I mean, I'll take any here that fit, but I've got 3 in mind. Name 3 major brands that did mixed wheel sizes early on in mountain biking. Mullet size is what I'm talking about, you know, the little wheel on the back, the big wheel on the front, that sort of thing. Okay, next up, I'm going to throw an image on screen as well to go with this. What make and model is this bike? Okay, next one. What is debonair? And no, I'm not talking about an especially gentlemanly gentleman either. Pick up the questions a bit later. Okay, into Rewind now, and we've got loads of cool stuff to show you this week. Now, don't forget, if you've got anything cool and old, or if you've got a mate that's got an old bike, or you've seen one in passing, get some snaps of it and send it to us. Tell us who you are, where you saw it, all that sort of cool stuff. There's a link on the screen and a click-through one in the description under this video. Now, the first one, this is just awesome. So it's just from Matt in Sweden. It's a 1998 K2 Proflex 4000. So K2 actually, I think they were like skiing sort of world, they actually took on the off-road brand. So it was originally off-road Proflex, and then of course behind that was the Gervin FlexStem. That was the first product that launched the brand. But K2, this one had the smart shocks on it. So it actually gave you, it altered the damping front and rear. Really intelligent stuff, really early on. I feel like they went bust. I can't really remember the story of K2, but it was kind of cool when they're around in mountain biking. Anyhow, so Matt says, hi, I'm Matt Oakley. First of all, I love the show. Thank you very much. I dug out my first ever full suspension bike. Bought it back in 98-99 when I was about 16. I seem to remember I paid about £1,000 for it. Wow, that was a good deal. I kind of feel like that was probably about £2,000 bike then, so amazing. Prior to this, I had a Kona Hahana and a Cannondale M500. Almost all the components are original. So it's got Dior XT group set on there, K2 Mag C pedals on there, Shimano BB UN72 130mm spindle. Wow, I forget you used to get different spindle lengths in those. So the fork, this is interesting. So that's a Nolene Crosslink CS fork on there. So the original fork was the Gervin Vector, and I guess Nolene just sort of enhanced this design. They put coil shock on it. So straight away, it must have felt incredible compared to the elastomer sprung earlier fork, but this one had the Smart Shock system on there. So Smart Shock system, I guess, was, I never rode these, but essentially had a little servo on there, and it had sensors on the forks and on the shock itself, and under certain amounts of movement, it would open and lock the shock, like incredibly fast. And of course now that's progressed on and we've got the Fox Live system, which adjusts faster than a human ever could possibly do, and it works amazingly well. So actually K2 may well have done this first before anyone else. So super cool stuff. Okay, so next one, this is an amp research from all the way from Slovakia. So this is Paolo. Hi there, I couldn't resist to share you this, my latest beauty. Just got it in the workshop. Amp research, just look at it, it's gorgeous. Moreover, the owner is going to ride it, use it the way it's meant to be used. Oh yes, you're going to get away with this. So is that a B3 or a B4? I think it's a B3. The B4 had the carbon seat tower on it. So I've got a B2, and the B2 on them has got a twin down tube. They were the ones you used to break because they were so light. This was the revised version that was by all accounts a lot better. Yeah, really nice. So it's got the classic amp setup on there. That means it's a 4-bar system, 4-bar linkage. It's got the chainstay horse pivot on there. The amp linkage fork, as you can see there. They were famous for leaking, unfortunately. I don't think they're terribly well sealed, but incredible approach if you consider that when that fork was designed by Horst Leitner, essentially there wasn't enough RockShox forks on the market because that was the only suspension fork at the time, and he got fed up, so he was like, well, I'm just going to design a fork, and I've got a linkage rear end, so I'm going to design a linkage fork to go with it. Incredible stuff. So that's the F1 fork. Or was that the F2? I thought it was the F1 fork, but this one is a more modernised version than the one that I have. Yeah, but super cool. And don't forget, it's got the McPherson strut system, because you couldn't get a shock absorber at the time for a mountain bike, so he made his own one. How cool is that? One of the most beautiful looking bikes, I think, still. Just the overall layout of those. Control Tech bar and stem, classics. Oh, and there it is in all its glory with what looks like a really cool workshop as well. Loving the pegboard, and you've got your signs up on the top there. You've got Park Tools signage, loads of Shimano products. I guess you're in the middle of doing some work on a bike, but just look at it. Look how nice that bike is. The seat stays in line with that down tube there. Yeah, I've just always had a soft spot for those. Everything about them was just so right at the time. And now here's something that's kind of quite wrong, but quite cool as well. So this is a Schwinn S20. This one's from Andres in Colombia. Now check the hubs on there. So Hayes hubs, but they're actually DT hubs branded as Huiji or Huji. They were the earliest ones. But look at this. So he's got hutch pedals as well. Now those things were beautiful. They came from the 20-inch BMX world. They were way cooler than anything like Odyssey and the other brands made. The hutch ones were super cool. I always remember Paul Smith had a set of those on his San Andreas. Yeah, really nice. And of course, there you go. So you can see the Schwinn there with that classic sort of sweet spot style pivot point there, just like the Ibis Castellano design bike there. Yeah, really very similar, the unified rear end. So as you sat down on the bike would lift your concertina in half and give you the rear suspension, but as you stood up, effectively, because that front pivot point is so far forwards, it'd be like riding a rigid bike on the rear end there. So actually remarkable in terms of tech, but wasn't the best in terms of suspension. I've got to say, I love the fact you've got the sort of the citrus yellow Mavic rims on there. Beautiful to see, really nice. And cool setup you got as well. Nice big bike cave with loads of other cool stuff in there. Looks like you're into motorsports as well, judged by some of the other stuff hanging in there. Very cool. Oh, look at that brake mount. Isn't it funny, that brake mount looks a little bit like the sort of the road style mounts that you're getting now on cross-country bikes. It's interesting, isn't it? Continental tyres. Wow, look at the old school logo. So different. Oh, a lovely XTR mech. That was the year model I had, my first XTR mech. Is that from 98, I think? Maybe 7. I think so, I forget. Yeah, beautiful looking with that XTR grey. So nice. Core stem on there. Yeah, and then Judy's on the front. Are they Judy XLs? Yeah, the twin crown versions. Now look at the front fender on the bike as well. So that's a THE, so that was Toby Henderson. I think it was Toby Henderson Enterprises, rather than engineering. So the THE brand was started by Toby Henderson, ex-BMX race pro, came into world of mountain biking. Super cool dude, made some really cool products back in the day. Very moto inspired. And do you know what? Looking at the bike side on there, I take back what I said. I think it does look really nice. It definitely looks nicer than a lot of the other sort of unified designs of that era. Maybe it's just because it's a Schwinn and the front and rear different colours and stuff. Definitely it looks better than the Trex. I think it looks better than the Ibis. Yeah, there's something about it. It just looks right. Maybe it's the fact it's got the chunky tyres on there, the twin crown fork, the moto style fender. It just kind of looks chunky and good, doesn't it? Yeah, awesome stuff. Thanks for sending those rewind efforts in. Loved seeing them. Okay, on to top mods now, and we got loads of cool stuff to show you in top mods, starting with something that is so leery, like it's insane. I'd love to see this in the flesh. Now, if you've got any cool top mods that you've done to your bikes, any modification will do, send them in. The link is right there on the screen. So the first one is from Lenny. The bike is a Sonda Cortex, 120mm rear end, 140 front, good numbers there. Cane Creek shock and forks, that's the helm fork on the front, hell of a fork that is. I started the year with ordering a Kona Hey Hey, but it got delayed over and over again. I think everyone can feel that pain. So I decided it was time for a build. So I got the Sonda Cortex frame, and it was just perfect for what I was after, downcountry or a short travel trail bike. I ordered all the parts I needed, and then the fork, I first order got delayed, then I found out a shop in Sweden had the Helm Mark II launch edition, so that's the bright pink one. Look at this, oh, so rad. And I had to have it because the build was already full of pink parts. It was meant to be. I mean, it's rowdy as anything. I love the tan walls. I know from some social posts I put out recently, there's such a divider. Even now, some people just can't stand them. I love them. I think they look awesome, but not on all bikes. They definitely look good on this. They work really well with the colour of the frame. Love where you've done the shots as well with that graffiti wall. Yeah, that's really cool. Great looking bike that. Don't really know much about the Sondas, but they do look good, don't they? Sits well, geometry looks good, clean lines. Next up is Anthony in Bedfordshire. So this is a 2021 Kona Shonky. So just built my first full-size freeride dream bike. I'm going to send it in, but I wanted a jump bike to master some handling skills. Using only Hope parts, focusing on low weight and strength. Love the colour and the engraved badging. Yeah, dude, that's sick. I feel like I've seen this before. Maybe I looked at this last week and didn't put it in. Can't remember. Yeah, the Hope bars and stem on there. So it's a 35 stem, I think. Hope carbon bars, Hope brakes. Man, you've got some kit on here. You can tell this is like a trail rider's dirt jump bike because you spec'd it out so high. Like the level of the gear in here. The Hope cranks, Hope bottom brake, well, Hope everything. Yeah, it looks rad. It's really good. Yeah, the engraving on the frame, that's interesting, isn't it? That's a really nice touch. Always liked Kona bikes. I'm glad they still kind of have that thing as well. Okay, and we've got time for one more. So this one is a Santa Cruz Chameleon 4 from Andrew in Southampton. Build started in lockdown, took an old Chameleon frame, powder coated it and added some new graphics from Slick. Slick graphics are awesome, by the way. Hope parts including cranks, pedals, BB, headset, carbon bars, stem, brakes and wheels, basically everything. Found a good set of revelations. Yep, solid forks they are. Reverb dropper with the new style lever, nice chuckable bike, good progression into mountain biking from BMX for me. Loving the channel, by the way. Dude, you've picked the ideal style bike to do that because Chameleon literally, hate to sound like an advert for Santa Cruz, but that is a frame that can be built up in any way. You can build it as a cross-country bike, you can build it as a single speed XC trail bike, you can build it like you have, like a hardcore hardtail. Yeah, it's a really, really good frame. And the fact that you can sort of grow with that as well into mountain biking. So really cool that you've come in from BMX as well. So welcome aboard, enjoy the trails, and thanks for sending it in. Okay, so let's get some quiz answers, shall we then? So the first question was, name 3 major brands that did mixed wheel size bikes early on. Now obviously there's quite a few out there, but I had 3 in mind. Any answers are correct here, but I said the Cannondale SM400 or the 500 or whatever. There's a whole bunch of those. Next one, Specialized Big Hit. We've referenced that on the show a lot recently. Now, there was some debating when the Big Hit came out if someone at Specialized made a mistake and just got the chain stays the wrong size, but I think we all know that wasn't true. And then, of course, the Trek 69er. So that was a proper OG mullet. It was 29 on the front and 26 on the rear. Like, bizarre looking thing. Universally loved by everyone that rode them, and probably disliked by many that didn't and just looked at them because it just looked so bizarre with a tiny wheel and a massive wheel. But hey, they were sort of quite ahead of the curve doing that by all accounts. Next up, what make and model of bike is this? It's an Ibis Mojo, of course, and this is outside the Marin Museum of Mountain, or the Marin Museum of Mountain Biking. Really cool place that is. Anytime any of you are in this sort of North California area, and perhaps on holiday or on a work trip, see if you can find a time to go over there to the museum. It's really, really cool, and if you're lucky, you'll get a personalised tour from one of the gentlemen behind mountain biking. Joe Breeze gave us a tour when we were there, but we also had a bit of a tour by Charlie Kelly. It's just like, what the hell? Like, going to see all this history and learning from some people who were there at the beginning. Just mind-blowing stuff. And lastly, what is Debonair? Get it? Yeah, it's a RockShox airspring system, and it's their sort of more, I mean, it's been around for quite a few years now, but it's their ultra-sensitive system, basically designed to make their airspring feel as supple or close to the feel of a course spring. It will never be quite the same, but by all accounts, their airsprings are excellent and they feel great. And there we go, that's the end of this week's show. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. What did you think having Martin involved on the news? I want to get more GMBNers involved in the show because, well, let's face it, I'm here on my own at the moment. It'd be nice to have some more company. What do you think? Let us know in the comments underneath and we'll catch you in another show soon. Take care.